Frivolous. Welcome. This is Josh DeBull, and this is an Insight Time event called Open Wisdom Wednesday. And I'm going to put the description for the event in the show notes here, and I'll just read it for anybody that can't see it. And mutual office hours for wisdom. I ask unplanned, general, and specific questions for your wisdom, and you ask me. In the meantime, we share openly, likely from whatever's going on currently, to get at our wisdom. Okay, so a lot of background. Yeah, I'm sorry about that. I am in a public place, so let's see if. Sorry about that. So this is Open Wednesday. I'm actually at a cafe. So if you'd imagine you're at a cafe talking to a wise one, right, and gleaning wisdom like that. So what I was going to talk about today, and probably still will, is maybe some forgiveness because of something that happened yesterday, actually. But what I'm getting now is, just as you notice, frivolous talk. So this is a big thing in our lives, right? What is considered frivolous talk, and what's considered necessary talk? And even what we consider frivolous talk a lot of times can be helpful to put people at ease, um, um, kind of brighten the mood too. But at what point does it get overdone, right? At what point does it ruin peace? Is what point are we avoiding certain uncomfortable feelings to just sit and be with those? And you know um, so how much is it helpful? And I don't really think there's much general rules of thumb here. It's kind of got to use your own guidance and wisdom and intuition on how much is enough, how much is needed. Sometimes we can go the opposite extreme and just give the cold silent treatment, and then it just makes it worse even. So um, and then, of course, when you get something like, coffee, right, then it's just kind of a drug to where it just motors the mouth. So sometimes that's needed. Some people holding back, but sometimes it can be overdone too. So I'm invite you guys to share any thoughts or feelings on about what's considered necessary talk, what's considered frivolous talk. You know, what? How do you guys feel about that? And let's see. Sita says, "Good to be with you." It is good to be with you guys here too. So I just lowered the quality, so I got a better connection now. It says. So one of the easiest ways to notice this is if there's just kind of like this like dense energy in the air where there's kind of an uncomfortable silence, like maybe waiting in line at a store or something like that, and everybody's kind of like pressuring the clerk to check out quicker. That this is where it seems like it's more necessary to just engage in small talk, just to make things more smoothly, make it seem more amenable, and that people care about each other instead of just forcing what they want onto the situation, right? But when we get into um, maybe social situations where we've been talking with our friends for hours and hours, and I know I've got a challenge with this too because I just can run at the mouth a really long time, really easily, and don't realize that a lot of it sometimes doesn't really need to be spoken. It's just kind of a force of habit, and yeah, I mean, what is it? So the guidelines for wise speech usually are: is it kind? Is it true? Is it necessary? Is it helpful? Is it the right time to say it? And does it bring concord instead of division? All right. Well, let's see. Does anyone have any guidelines around wise speech or questions around wise speech? I'll just go into this thing then, if nobody does, about forgiveness. So I was kind of caught off guard yesterday. It was rainy, and it took an extra long time to do what I was needing to do. And I'll speak vaguely here to not give too many details. But it turned out when I got home, there was an incongruency, and so I called up, and I ended up kind of making a fool of myself, and kind of acted like an ass. with the way I talked with the gal who was on the other end. And it turns out it was my error and my mistake, actually, when I was really, really close to accusing her of doing something she didn't do. And so it turns out that it was actually my mistake. And so um, after talking to her manager, I got her back on the line. I said, first thing I said was, please forgive me. You know, you didn't deserve to be treated like that. And, it was my fault and my bad. Will you please forgive me? And of course, she didn't say, yes, I forgive you, but that's okay. So this goes into a past teaching I did, and I'm going to put the URL in here. It's a shortcut to a blog post and a live I did. It's tinyurl.com/3, the number three, way forgiveness. And you guys can check that out if you're interested. But basically, from what I understand, is you can't force forgiveness, even if you would like to. If it's not authentic and doesn't feel right or the right time, it can't be forced. So it's just going to happen whenever it happens as well. But for these are, I'm just going to read these phrases really briefly. They're short and they're for your consideration. And so, three-way forgiveness goes with asking the other person for forgiveness, forgiving the other person, and then forgiving ourselves. So here we go. And you can find this if you follow the link that I just sent to. To those I may have caused harm, knowingly or unknowingly, through my thoughts, words, or actions, I ask you to consider forgiving me. To those who have, to those, sorry, to those who may have caused me harm, knowingly or unknowingly, through their thoughts, words, or actions, I freely offer my forgiveness as best as I am able to at this time. And for any harm I may have caused myself, knowingly or unknowingly, through my thoughts, my words, my actions, I offer my forgiveness. I forgive myself as best as I can at this time. So for me, early on in my journey, it was a huge practice. This practice of self forgiveness, and yeah, sometimes I just wasn't ready. Sometimes it just didn't feel natural, but it freed up this huge, like, energetic burden I was carrying around of like hate and spite for the other person a lot of times, and sometimes I would actually reached out and asked people in person to do this. Some it just wasn't possible to do so, and so it still works energetically to do that as well. Um, so again, I found this quite helpful. Um, yes. Okay. So I guess they're blocking the URL that I'm sending here. So I'm going to hack around it here by doing this. Thanks. Because I was wondering if the links I sent will go through or not. Did they, Let me know if you guys can see that. And I've got a guest here on Wisdom, so we'll see if you guys will be able to hear it too. I'm gonna have this is Lady Hot Pickle. We'll see what she says here and see if you guys can hear it too. Huh. And okay, so the guest is left. Oh well. Um, so let me see if I can do the. It's. I'll just do the slash. Okay, so three-way forgiveness is the link, and then it's tinyurl.com/ the three-way forgiveness spelled like that. So it's tinyurl and then .com/ yeah. So hopefully that goes through now, and that'll take you right to the blog post I was talking about with the words I read there. Okay, so welcome to those other meditators who've shown up here, and yeah. So, does anybody have any wisdom shares around forgiveness or wise speech? Again, is what we talked about. Um, what if anybody can bring to mind a time when they wanted to forgive someone but they couldn't, or perhaps they kind of felt it would be very helpful to forgive someone, but they just weren't ready yet. And this is all okay too. And actually, the name of that post that I have that I included, it's actually called Allowing Non-Forgiveness and Considering Three-Pronged Forgiveness. So first we have to allow ourselves not to forgive. Um, I feel is helpful too. So there's no guilt or pressure around it. Um, yes, and I'm yeah, I like the upon I can't pronounce. It's a Hawaiian word. It's a beautiful practice, right? If I'm remembering right, some of the phrases are like I'm sorry, I love you, I forgive you. If anybody knows those phrases by heart, please type them out in the chat because that is a beautiful practice. Well, what else is going on in people's lives? I know um, Wendy and I have a meditation Q&A planned coming up where we're going to look at the challenges around the holidays, and this is a common one too. Has anybody found wisdom around whatever things they have going on around the holidays? Has anybody learned anything new that they would like to share on what might benefit others on how to handle this time of year? I know for me, I just kind of withdraw a lot of times, meaning that I try to stay inside as much as possible during these times, just because a lot of people are running around doing things frantically at the last minute, but not always the case. I still meet with friends and whatnot. I think this unentangled observer is a good way to kind of be around others without being completely detached from them. We can engage when we need to engage, and realize that there's just challenges going into it. With challenges, there can be great rewards as well. Um, I think our kind of mindset going into it helps a lot too. Like if we just constantly think that there's going to be trouble and failure, well, then we kind of preload that and maybe might make that a self fulfilling prophecy. So I like the view of yes, not denying that it can be challenging. At the same time, okay, well, we've been working on ourselves. Our practice is strengthening, and there's a challenge here that's an opportunity to see how well I'm going to be tested here, and that once and it can be a learning process, right? So what I learn and how I maneuver through challenging meetups and times, then I will be more skilled and stronger in myself and more capable and able to help others do the same. Okay, so yes, the phrases are I'm sorry, please forgive me, thank you, I love you. Yeah, I just love the thank you because, well, Matt Kahn's it's his second book, Everything is Here to Help You. It's pretty amazing how the perceptions he uses can just all these different challenges in our lives. Well, the whole book is built around the golden question of what if the worst things that ever happened to me was actually the greatest opportunity I've ever been given. So it just kind of flips everything around to view the world from that perspective, and then he goes into all these different things people think are a huge um, problem, and actually showing what they're there to help us advance and learn and grow. So one of the big questions, or one of the perceptions, is what weakness is this helping me strengthen? So whatever we feel we've done, is a repeating thing in our lives, we can always ask that question. What weakness is this helping me strengthen? So it's like being forged, being put in a crucible, and then coming out the other side of it, forged in fire, so to speak. The other thing, nugget of wisdom I find really helpful is if it could have happened any other way, it would have. And it's just that deep when that really sinks in. It's so helpful and such a relief too. Very wise. But one of the other things he says is thank you. I mean, could you imagine saying somebody that just treated you like a really piece of crap, not to excuse their actions at all, you know, not that it's allowable in any way, but to be able to just look them in the eyes after whatever they did and just say thank you, without having to explain how they helped you or even knowing how they helped you, which you'll finally figure out later. But especially if there's, of course, the exception to this is abuse. So in that instance, they're helping you get out of an abusive situation, doing whatever you have to do to get out of that. Okay, so Sita says, yes, setting intentions for the day and many breath practices through the day to reset, maintain balance. Very important. I do this thing called the three breath highway, just stopping. And that's all it takes a lot of times, is just being fully conscious and present for every single moment of the in breath, and then through the transition all the way through the out breath where the pause is. That three times a lot of times will it's what it is all it takes to kind of re-regulate the nervous system, to put things in perspective, bring calm, and kind of reset our day, but also act as like an integration of what we've been going through in the moment, and kind of, yes, gives us a refresher and relaxation. Sandy says, I find it easy to be out with my dog and observe these animals who are in the moment. I know, right? Do you think they're sitting there? Oh, this other dog 5 days ago, he sniffed my butt in the wrong way. So I mean, I hope I find him, and I'm really going to show him that that wasn't okay. So no, they're just moment to moment, just thrilled to be alive. And just giving all the just there basically to give and receive love, and then to be in the moment and be alive, and not worried about what's happened in the past, or how they're going to save for college education or something, or if they only get this and this and this 5 years down the road, well, then they'll have this on track for this plan and be happier. They don't, what's the analogy, like taking our happiness like a bone and throwing it into the future and chasing after it. No, it's everything we need to be um, happy and well is right here, right now within. So yeah, but yeah, that's right, Sandy. So it's sometimes they do have a short memory, but that's okay. Then they just constantly are in need of love, and wanting to give love moment to moment. So they don't really need to, as long as they have that inclination, they don't really need to remember it, right? I guess is one way to put it. So Sita says, wow, that's a fascinating perspective. Yeah, that isn't it? So that's, well, pretty cool. Well, I kind of put this for 15 minutes, guys. So I will leave it here for a few moments. If anyone has any other questions or anything else they would like to share, then they can do so, or please do so now. Um, yeah. Um, oh, the gal that tried to join, she said she's sorry that. Oh no, actually, she chimed in with the exact same phrases for the prayer. I'm sorry, please forgive me. I thank you. I love you. Beautiful practice. Something about just saying those words, singing those words out loud is it's a comfort, and it's kind of how we ought to be as humans. I feel more so times than not. Is and then of course wisdom balances that out, right? We're not going to say that to, like, we're in an abusive situation and people are just walking all over us like a doormat, an emotional doormat, or a emotional support animal, right? That's not the time to do that. But when we're kind of in pain and hurting, and but at the same time have boundaries, so there is some form of protection, then it's a great energetic practice to do on our own, or especially with those we love and care about too. So Sita says, how might you shift the conversation respectfully if it seems frivolous? Very good point, right? Um, so I like this is a really good point. So if you are involved in the conversation, then I would say, if you can, tune in to that other person more deeply than, because usually what's going on with the frivolous talk is kind of a surface level, right? So if you can tune in to kind of what their needs are, right? What are they really needing, or what's behind the frivolous talk? What do they really need to hear? Um, what's kind of what needs to be addressed with them on a deeper level, and then can kind of ask yourself, well, now that I see that, how might there be a transition or an opening to shift the conversation into something that more resembles something on a little bit deeper nature. I know this is kind of vague. It would be helpful to come up with a more an example around this, but let's just see somebody just needs to be heard, and so they just want to talk about anything, just to kind of be seen and heard. So just like maybe an acknowledgement. Oh, I really hear what you're saying. Could you tell me more about this one thing? Or if they hint on something that might be a little bit more important, you can say, oh, that you said this, that really fascinates me. Can you tell me more about that? So yeah, tuning into what's more important, and have them talk more about that instead of whatever the weather, or the TV show, or their likes and dislikes, this kind of thing. So that's one way that comes to mind about how maybe to do that. Yeah, you can also just go in and ask, just ask a question really briefly about what might seem more important to both parties when we're talking, and then see what their interest is on that as well. And so it might be more important than some of the other topics being talked about, right? Okay, with that, guys, I think I will let you all go. Thanks so much for joining. And this is the second Open Wisdom Wednesday I've done, so might be doing some more of these in the future. You'll see it in the feed and whatever, and Twitter, and I also announced it on Denny K. Muse Circle on Insight Timer Live. So you're welcome to sit down. All right. May you all be blessed with all the love and wisdom that's required. Bye.